It definitely is, and I think the Kurdish approach right now is to liberate one section first, and hopefully if we can get Iraqi Kurdistan free and independent, and we can show to the world that, look, this is all we want. We don't want to hurt anybody else. Just like you said earlier, we don't attack anybody else. We don't want anybody else's land. We just want to rule our own land. We want to live in peace and harmony with everybody else.
Right.
And we want to have the right to self-determine our own future. And this is a basic right everybody should have. Every nation in the world.
Every nation deserves it. But it's being denied to some nations, including you guys, including us, and and I think it would do the Middle East very well to have another non-Arab state. To have a free Kurdistan would be able to. It would be another expression of freedom for. It would be another element that's different from the rest of the Middle East. Meaning an expression of free Kurdistan in the Middle East would show another state that is not an Arab state. That's able to get along in the Middle East with other nations in the Middle East.
Definitely. I mean, Middle East is not just for Arabs.
Right, and people have...
for everybody else to be there.
And people in our generation are under the mistaken assumption that only Arabs are in the Middle East, and that anybody else is from outside. People think...
everybody else is a foreigner.
Right, whereas the Arabs are really from Arabia.
The opposite in reality of it.
Yeah.
Right, and everybody forgets that the Jews are from the Middle East, and the Kurds and the Berbers are from North Africa. Everybody were kind of swallowed up. And now we have to fight for our rights just to have freedom for our countries in the Middle East, and it's a struggle that I think you and I share. That the Kurdish people.
I mean, we have been there for thousands of years.
Right, and
none of us are migrants into the Middle East. The Turks came with the Mongols. They came in the 17 and 1800s.
Right.
1400s. They came in late 1400s, 1600s, and the waves of the Mongols, Genghis Khan, and them was there coming in. The Arabs came up north with the Islamic expansion to the other regions.
But people today don't know this. People today think that only Arabs are from the Middle East. Like in America, when people say Middle Eastern, they usually mean Arab. I'm a Middle Easterner. You're a Middle Easterner. Eliyahu is a Middle Easterner. We are Middle Eastern peoples, and like any other people on the planet, like any other nation on the planet, we have a right to self-determination in our countries.
I wanted to ask you, I find many, many, many similarities between the struggle here in Israel and the struggle there that you're having in Kurdistan. I see a massive difference being media coverage. Here, everybody, whether they're knowledgeable of the facts or not, they know what's going on in Israel. They know about Israel. Most of the world is completely unfamiliar, unaware of Kurdistan. Do you have any insights as to why nobody is speaking about your revolution, your struggle to have a free sovereign nation?
Yeah, definitely there's a lot of media blockage from the countries that govern us. I mean, most of them are totalitarian governments, so it's made it much more difficult to get coverage than I see you guys were, because like country like Syria, for example, how much control they have over their media, and there's nothing that can get out. For example, the Kurds in Syria, there is almost 270,000 Kurds without any kind of rights because the citizenship was taken away from them in the 70s. So they can't even own any property.
Citizenship was taken away in the 70s.
Syrian citizenship. They had Syrian citizenship up till then?
The Syrian Kurds. Right.
So you have Syrian Kurds who have no citizenship, no property rights. What else?
They can't own or buy anything. Like, for example, I'm just saying, for example, nobody can really hear about it because how much of a big mouth they are. They're very controlling of the media. They're controlling of the information. The only change that we have had in the recent years is influx of Kurdish immigrants outside, and this is after the late 1980s.
Influx into Syria?
Outside, out of Kurdistan to let's say to Europe and to the Americas.
Okay.
And I think this is one factor that's going to help us the most to get our voices out, because before the 80s, you almost never heard anything about the Kurds.
Right.
From anywhere.
Right.
And after the 80s, I think with it's become much more easier because of the presence of Kurdish immigrants outside of Kurdistan. And that's the same factor that helped a lot of Israel. Earlier I was talking about Israel being built from the outside to the inside. And the same thing can happen with Kurdistan, because having these Kurdish people outside of Kurdistan, they can work, they can get the voice out at the very least, and maybe rally some kind of a support for us.
You're saying that a Kurdish diaspora could actually be beneficial?
Definitely.
But you would want them home after, wouldn't you want them to come back to Kurdistan, all these people?
Sure. Yes, we need both. They're important to be outside also, because
you yourself are outside, right? You yourself
I'm
are
outside, right. And that's one of the reasons I have not gone back.
That seems the only way.
I see a lot of work I can do here.
That seems like the only way to get it known is to leave and be somewhere where it's not so locked down, not so controlled with the media, and let it be known that there is a struggle.
The reason for leaving was not right. It was not intentional. The reason for leaving for most of the Kurds is because of the political situations going on over there. Like me myself, we ran away from Saddam back in 1996 because after he attacked into the Kurdish territory and came out to kill the people. But last time he attacked was in 1991, and he killed everybody, anybody they caught. So he had a mass exodus out of the city. Millions of people got to the mountains, and that got international recognition. So they stopped that. So the world stepped in. Saddam, to prevent that same situation to occurring again, what he did this time, he came in and said, I'll forgive everybody else and declare general amnesty, except for people that were involved in these organizations who are rebuilding back the no man's land. Now, the no man's land, right, this was in Iraqi Kurdistan. The no man's land were these territories that Saddam destroyed during the Anfal campaign. Anfal was the word for, kind of like a Holocaust. It's killing of the Kurds. It was a systemic killing of the Kurds. It's a genocide. A genocide. And Anfal is taken from the word from Quran, which means spoils of war. And he used a religious text to basically eliminate the Kurds, even though most of the Kurds are Muslims, and they don't accept them that way. And they take it as that it's okay to kill them. They're infidels.
Even though they're all Muslims.
Wait, how could it?
They killed 280,000 Kurds, and this is civilians. Everybody. It was just the same thing as the Holocaust. I mean, they had camps set up. They captured people from the villages. They isolated men, women, children together into one camp. Young men's ages of 14 to 50, 55. They're sent to one camp. Women and children sent to another camp, and the elderly was sent to another camp. All the men were killed. They were shot, put into mass graves. Then the women and children, some of them were killed. And the elderly, they're just not fed, and they're put into horrible conditions. Most of them just die off without actually being fired out of bullets.
So they save money on bullets.
Exactly. It was just like the Holocaust. I mean, they were given 1 teaspoon of sugar a day. And they're survivors of this situation, of this Anfal genocide. And a lot of times, this is what makes me angry, is a lot of times people use the word that Saddam used chemical gas. And that gets it gets tossed around all the time. But the reality is the chemical gas that Saddam used was part of this genocide campaign. The actual big picture was the genocide doesn't get talked about as much.
Right. And that's what, part of what I want to ask you, like, why in your opinion is the international community so eager to establish a state for the Arabs who call themselves Palestinians in the middle of Israel, in the middle of our country, while no world power seems interested in helping to liberate Kurdistan? I mean, that's a legitimate struggle, and everybody's ignoring it. So why do you think there's so much of a focus on helping the Arabs to take part of Israel, while at the same time nobody wants to help you reclaim your homeland?
Yeah, like I was saying, I think lack of Kurdish diaspora, I think lack of Kurdish support from outside. I mean, we never really have any real friends anywhere. The Kurds, I mean, we have a saying that says we have no friends but the mountains. Because when we get into a bad situation, always what ends up happening is the Kurds running back into our mountains. The only coverage and support we can get is the caves in the mountains that can hide us from enemies' hands, from enemies' helicopters, and their bombardments.
But Condoleezza Rice or Tony Blair or George Bush, none of these people have ever tried to make you a state. None of these people have ever tried to make an estate.
No, they think it's a sin because they're afraid of changing the borders around. They're afraid of well, that's the excuse they give us. But in your case, it's the opposite.
So we obviously have a lot in common, and we obviously have a common struggle that we should be fighting. So what can we do, Jews in general and the Zionist Freedom Alliance in particular, what can we do to help your struggle for freedom?
I think friendship is the best thing, as a step one. Step two, I think we should have much more open communication between both governments and people. We should allow all people to visit each other. Like the Kurds go to Israel and Israelis go to Kurdistan.
It's safe for Israelis.
Business.
Is there an airport? Do you have an airport?
There is airport. Right, there is airport. There's two international airports in Kurdistan. And like I said, everything has been established after.
Nothing to do with Iraq. Meaning I can get on a plane.
Absolutely does not.
I can get on a plane and fly to Kurdistan without having to deal with any Iraqi border people or soldiers. I'm only dealing with Kurdistan.
It's all Kurdish. Right.
Really?
The guards on the border, they have Kurdish flag on their shoulders.
And they
don't even fly Iraqi flag over there.
And they're all supportive of our struggle. They're supportive of the Zionist struggle.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we really have a lot in common.
We would find a friendly country.
You would. Exactly.
Okay. That's it. I'm happy. I'm happy to have another ally in the Middle East. I'm
happy too. I mean, it's good. We have, like I said, we have so much to learn from each other. I mean, I think Israel should be the perfect model for Kurds to build a nation on.
Well,
and just learn from you guys' mistakes and you guys' struggle to build our own.
Right. Well, I'll give you one piece of advice. Any territory you liberate for your people, don't hand over to foreigners.
You shouldn't.
That's one mistake. That's one mistake we made, and we continue to make. That I'll advise you not to make. Now,
you should.
Thank you so much for being with us. You should know that we're behind you, and we support you in your struggle for a free Kurdistan, and we wish you success. And hopefully, we'll have you on the show again in the future. Be well.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.